We did it, guys! He's back! He's back. Spider-Man is back in the MCU. Or did he ever really leave? Let's talk about it. Here's what we know so far. We know that the two studios are once again working together. After it seemed like all hope is long lost, it would appear Spidey is able to remain in the MCU and while having his third film in the Homecoming trilogy series being produced by Kevin Feige. This is what Kevin had to say on the matter. I am thrilled that Spidey's journey in the MCU will continue, and I and all of us at Marvel Studios are very excited that we get to keep working on it. Spider-Man is a powerful icon and hero whose story crosses all ages and audiences around the globe. He also happens to be the only hero with the superpower to cross cinematic universes. So as Sony continues to develop their own Spideyverse, you never know what surprises the future might hold. What does this mean for the future of Spidey? Well, we know one thing for sure. We know that we're going to be able to keep referencing the Avengers and the events of Endgame and pretty much everything else in the MCU that built these Spidey movies from the ground up. There's also something to be said about what Kevin says in that last line about having that superpower that can cross into other cinematic universes. AKA Spider-Man crossing over into Venom, anyone? This could also somewhat tie into a Morbius movie and more than likely the Madam Web movie that Sony has announced. But I'll do another video talking about Madam Web at another time. You can't have Madam Web without Spider-Man. They could also explain how they end up doing a Spider-Verse movie without Doctor Strange if required. It has also been confirmed as expected that the movie will release in July 16th of 2021 and will be part of Marvel's Phase 4 in the MCU. Jon Watts is also expected to return to direct the third movie in the trilogy. However, if Sony plans to have Peter leave the MCU after the third movie, even if temporarily, they better write Peter off in a way that works better for the fans and not leave things on a huge cliffhanger that wraps around the references of the MCU. Recent reports have stated that the new deal was signed Thursday night, and then here's what it entails of. Marvel and Disney will receive roughly 25% of the profits and will put a quarter up of the financing. Amy Pascal will also produce it through Pascal Pictures, much like the last two films. This is what Pascal had to say. "This is terrific," she said. "Peter Parker's story took a dramatic turn in Far From Home, and I could not be happier we will all be working together as we see where his journey goes." Robert Lawson, Chief Communications Officer for Sony Pictures Entertainment, stated this: "We have had great collaboration over the last 4 years, and our mutual desire to continue was equal to that of many fans. We are delighted to be moving forward together." And now that we've got the reports and deals out of the way, we can talk about Spider-Man 3 or Home Sweet Home or Home Alone or Homeward Bound or whatever you want to call it. My guess is that the plot of the movie goes like this. Spoilers for anyone who has not seen Far From Home, click away now, and if you're watching this video, you probably have already seen Far From Home, but anyway, spoiler alert nonetheless. Peter Parker will be on the run from Kraven the Hunter, whose seeds will be planted in the Morbius movie Sony is making in the Venomverse. After the events of Far From Home, the whole world will know who Spider-Man is, and they'll be thinking that he killed Mysterio after J. Jonah Jameson outs him as Peter Parker. This could be a great way to introduce Norman Osborn, someone who happens to be modifying DNA testing on creatures and wants to obtain Peter's blood and run tests on it to find out how he can replicate it and pass it on to others. To obtain Peter's blood, Norman contracts Kraven, the Hunter, to track Peter down, kidnap him, and steal his blood. Peter eventually figures out who Norman is and why Kraven is after him, but can't deal with Norman until after Kraven is dealt with. Peter might do some research on his own blood to figure out that if you try to manually mix it with human DNA, the results are catastrophic, much like the plot of TASM 3. During his fight with Kraven, Kraven makes Peter bleed and is able to obtain a vial of Peter's blood before Peter figures out their plan and returns it to Norman. Eventually, Peter defeats Kraven, and the cliffhanger of Norman having Peter's blood fades to black at the end. Or something like that. I don't know. I'm not a movie writer. What do you want from me? In terms of Venom 2, we need to talk about that for a second. How will Peter enter the Venomverse? That is the question of the day. Based on Feige's quote, it doesn't seem like Sony could convince them to put Venom into the MCU, but the other way around. Spidey in their Venomverse, which is more so what we expected. More than likely, Venom 2 will focus on Venom vs. Carnage, and at the end of that cliffhanger, have Eddie walking by a TV and seeing Peter swinging on the news. Then you hear Eddie or Venom say something along the lines of, not sure what it is about this kid, but I don't like him, or something along those lines. Or maybe a symbiote worse than Carnage spawns at the end of that targets Venom, and then Peter ends up witnessing him attacking New York before Peter and Venom cross paths. Either way, it's all very exciting, and I cannot wait to see what they come up with. It's more likely that we'll get a Spider-Man Homecoming 3, and then Venom 3 with Spider-Man, and then maybe, hopefully, a Sinister 6 movie, and then Spider-Man 4 and 5. Beyond that, who knows? Let me know in the comments your biggest Spider-Man cinematic theory, and let's talk about it. That's about all I had to say on this video. If you like this video, feel free to web up that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.